On the first day after you disappear, she convinces herself she's fine. She puts on a brave face, telling herself and maybe even her friends that this is what she wanted, that your absence doesn't bother her. Her ego whispers to her that she's in control, that she made the right choice, that she doesn't need you. There's even a temporary sense of relief, almost like a weight has been lifted, because now she doesn't have to deal with the reality of your strength or the fact that you weren't someone she could bend or control. That first day is all about pride, and pride is loud. It drowns out the quiet truth that sits underneath, the truth that she already feels your absence. She might even scroll through her phone as if nothing happened, laugh with her friends, post something on social media to show she's unbothered. She's put on a show for herself as much as for others because the thought of missing you this soon would bruise her ego. Deep down, though, she's already aware something is different. The silence is noticeable, but she'll never admit that, not on day one. Instead, she convinces herself that you'll break first. She expects a message, a call, some kind of attempt from you to bridge the gap. In her mind, the script is already written. You'll come running, and she'll be the one to decide whether to entertain you or not. But here's the irony. While she thinks she's in control, it's the beginning of her losing it. She has no idea that your silence isn't temporary, that your absence isn't a tactic but a decision. She mistakes your strength for a game, and that's the first crack in her armor. On the surface, she carries herself with confidence, but underneath it, curiosity begins to stir. Even if she won't admit it, even if she suppresses it, there's a part of her that wonders why you haven't reached out yet. That's the seed that will grow over the coming days. The first day is all about denial. It's the high that comes before the crash, the false confidence that keeps her from realizing the reality of what just happened. She tells herself she's better off. She replays reasons in her head about why it's good that you're gone, and she convinces herself that men like you are replaceable. But the truth is already working its way into her mind. You are not like everyone else. And while she thinks she's strong for pretending not to care, the silence is already louder than she wants to admit. Day one is her ego's last stand, and it feels powerful in the moment, but it's only temporary because after the first day, the mask begins to slip, and the weight of your absence starts to feel heavier than she expected, and that's when the real thoughts begin. By the third day, her certainty begins to waver. The initial pride that carried her on day one is still there, but it no longer feels as solid. Curiosity creeps in, slow and quiet at first, then sharper as the hours pass. She starts to wonder why you haven't broken the silence. In her mind, she believed you would have already called or sent a message by now. She thought she was so important that you couldn't resist reaching out, yet her phone sits still, no new notifications, no vibration, no sign of you at all, and that silence is starting to feel strange. She tries to distract herself. She might scroll through her social media, check who's watching her stories, even post something designed to get your attention. Maybe it's a picture of her smiling, a caption that seems carefree, or something subtle meant to remind you of what you're missing. But when the hours go by, and there's still no reaction from you, she feels the shift, the performance isn't working. You're not taking the bait. And for the first time, a thought crosses her mind that unsettles her. Maybe you're not coming back. She replays the last conversations between you, looking for clues. Was there something she missed? Did she underestimate your strength? She thought disappearing from her life would shake you enough to make you chase, but instead, it seems to have awakened something else. Your indifference. And indifference is powerful, far more powerful than anger or begging could ever be. It's a reminder that your world doesn't revolve around her, that you are a man who values himself more than her validation. That reality doesn't sit comfortably with her because deep down she knows how rare that kind of strength is. By day 3, she's not in pain yet, but she's unsettled. Curiosity isn't full-blown regret, it's the beginning of it. It's the subtle awareness that the situation isn't playing out the way she thought it would. She might laugh with her friends and pretend she doesn't care, but when the laughter fades and the room is quiet, she checks her phone again. She notices the empty screen. She wonders what you're doing, who you're with, and why you're so silent. And silence starts to speak louder than words. And this is where the tables slowly begin to turn. She wanted to feel like she was in control, but by the third day, it's no longer about her choice, it's about yours. She's no longer wondering if she should reach out, she's wondering why you haven't. That shift in focus is the beginning of her losing power in the story she created. Curiosity may seem small, but it grows fast. By the third day, she's already aware of a truth she doesn't want to admit. You're not chasing. And that makes her start to think about you more than she expected. And once that thought takes root, it doesn't go away. It only gets stronger. By the seventh day, the weight of your absence begins to settle in. What started as pride on the first day and curiosity on the third has now grown into something heavier. A week is long enough for her to notice the difference in her routine, long enough for the silence to stop feeling like a game and start feeling like a void. The things she once took for granted, your messages, your calls, your presence, are now missing, and she can feel the emptiness that absence creates. She wakes up and checks her phone, not out of hope, but out of habit. That habit reminds her of what used to be there. A good morning, a thoughtful message, a reminder that she mattered to someone who showed up consistently. Now, there's nothing. The absence is sharp not because she can't survive without you, but because she notices how much lighter and quieter life feels without the weight of your presence. It's not the kind of quiet that brings peace. It's the kind that reminds her something meaningful is missing. Throughout the day, little triggers remind her of you. A song, a place, a phrase, even something as simple as a notification sound makes her pause. She brushes it off quickly when she's around others, but when she's alone, those moments build up. The silence becomes uncomfortable. What once seemed like freedom now starts to feel like loneliness. She begins to realize that her life doesn't feel the same without the balance you brought to it. 7 days when the silence turns into pressure, it makes her think deeper than she wants to. She starts to question the decision she made. Was pushing you away worth it? Was losing your presence really freedom, or was it pride pretending to be strength? This is when regret begins to whisper, not loud, not enough to overwhelm her, but enough to get her attention. The reality is sinking in that your absence isn't temporary, and the control she thought she had is slipping further away. She might reach for distractions, friends, social outings, anything to keep her from sitting with her thoughts, but none of it fills the gap. Other conversations feel shallow. Other company doesn't match the energy you once gave. The more she tries to fill the silence, the more she notices that it doesn't work. What she really misses is not just your words, but the feeling of being grounded by your presence. By the end of the week, she can no longer deny that life feels emptier without you. The curiosity from earlier days has turned into a quiet ache, the first real sign that she's beginning to feel the loss. It's no longer about wondering why you haven't called. It's about realizing what you're starting to lose because you haven't. And in that realization, the silence speaks louder than anything you could ever say. By the second week, something shifts inside her. 14 days of silence is no longer just a pause. It feels like a statement. She's lived with the quiet long enough that it forces her to start comparing. Every interaction she has with other men, whether it's casual conversation, attention on social media, or someone trying to show interest, brings you back to her mind. It's not because she's looking for you in them, but because they simply don't measure up. No matter what they say, no matter how they act, there's an emptiness to it that wasn't there when she was with you. At first, she tries to dismiss the comparisons. She tells herself it's unfair to expect someone else to show up the way you did. But the more she thinks about it, the more undeniable it becomes. The way you carried yourself, the consistency of your presence, the depth of your energy. Those things weren't common. She realizes you weren't just filling space in her life. You were setting a standard without even trying. And now every other man she meets falls short of that standard. This realization doesn't bring comfort, it brings discomfort, because it forces her to face the truth that what she walked away from wasn't ordinary. She thought your consistency was predictable, your strength was immovable, and your presence was guaranteed. Now she's beginning to see that those very traits are the rarest ones to find, and when she looks around hoping to replace what she lost, She finds nothing but shallow gestures that lack the depth she once dismissed. By day 14, the silence you've maintained is no longer just confusing, it's powerful. It's forcing her to acknowledge things she didn't want to see before. She thought disappearing from her life would make you chase. Instead, your absence is making her chase thoughts of you. It's making her compare, making her remember, making her question. That comparison game is exhausting because every time she weighs what others offer against what you gave, you come out on top. And this is where regret begins to take a firmer root. She might not admit it out loud, but she feels it. In her private thoughts, in the quiet moments before sleep, in the pauses where no one else is around, she replays your presence. She remembers the way you spoke, the steadiness you carried, the sense of certainty you gave. And when she measures that against what she sees now, she starts to understand that she let go of something she may never find again. So the comparisons are no longer harmless, they sting. They remind her that not all men are the same, that not all men can give what you gave. By the second week, the silence isn't just a reminder that you're gone, it's a mirror showing her what she lost. And deep down, she knows. It's a mirror she can't look away from. By the third week, the weight of silence has settled so heavily that regret starts to seep through every thought she has. At first, she convinced herself you would eventually reach out, that your absence was temporary, maybe even a tactic. But when days turn into weeks and nothing changes, her confidence begins to crack. It's no longer about the silence you've given her. It's about the silence she's left herself with, because now she's the one asking the questions she doesn't want to answer. She starts replaying the last conversations you had, picking apart every word, every tone, every reaction. The moments that seemed insignificant before now feel like clues she should have paid more attention to. Did she push too hard? Did she test your patience one too many times? Did she take for granted the fact that you were always there, steady, unshaken, while she played games? These thoughts swirl in her mind until they create a storm of doubt and regret. And the more she digs into the past, the more she realizes how much of it could have been avoided if she had chosen differently. Regret has a way of creeping in slowly, then hitting all at once. By the 21st day, that's exactly what she's experiencing. She remembers moments when you tried to connect and she brushed you off. She recalls times when you showed consistency and she dismissed it as routine. Now, in the absence of that steadiness, she feels the imbalance everywhere. Life feels off, and she begins to understand that it's because she lost someone who grounded her without her even realizing it. The hardest part of regret is that it's silent. She doesn't admit it to anyone because her pride won't let her, but internally, she's battling a war she can't escape. On the outside, she may still smile, laugh, and carry on with her life, but inside, she's replaying scenes with you like a film she can't stop watching. The details grow sharper with each passing day. The way you looked at her, the calmness in your voice, the ease with which you handled life, and the contrast between what she remembers and what she has now is painful. She begins to question herself in ways she never expected. Was letting you go a mistake she'll never recover from? Did she underestimate the rarity of what you brought into her life? Regret is no longer just a thought. It's becoming an emotion that weighs her down. It makes her restless. It keeps her awake. It eats away at the confidence she once wore like armor. And with every passing day, that regret grows stronger because she knows you're not coming back to erase it for her. By the third week, regret isn't just a passing feeling, it's a shadow she can't outrun. It reminds her that sometimes in life, you don't get do-overs. And this time, she may have lost the one man who was never meant to be replaced. By the time a month has passed, the silence is no longer something she can ignore. It's not just about wondering where you are or why you haven't called. It's about realizing what that silence represents. 30 days without a word from you tells her everything she needs to know. It tells her you've truly moved on, that you've chosen your peace over the chaos, your strength over her indecision. And with that realization comes the heaviest truth of all. She didn't lose a man who needed her. She lost a man she may never find again. At this point, the pride that carried her through the first few days has evaporated. The curiosity that made her check her phone has turned into frustration with herself. The comparisons that haunted her during the second week have solidified into undeniable clarity. By now, Regret isn't just a passing thought, it's carved into her. She knows that what she had with you wasn't ordinary, and what she let slip away won't return. 30 days may not seem like much time on a calendar, but for her it feels like an eternity of self-reflection. In that silence, she has had to sit with her choices. She's had to replay the moments when she thought she could do better, when she believed you would always be there, no matter how she treated you, when she assumed your patience had no end. Now, faced with the reality of your absence, she sees that her assumptions cost her something priceless. Acceptance doesn't come easily. It comes with tears she won't admit to shedding, with restless nights staring at the ceiling, with a constant ache she can't explain to others. Outwardly, she may still put on a strong front, but inwardly, she knows she had a man who valued her in ways others never will. She knows she had a man whose consistency, presence, and energy cannot be duplicated. And she knows she let that slip through her fingers because she mistook his strength for permanence. The truth about acceptance is that it isn't peaceful, it's painful. It's the moment when she realizes the door is no longer open, the bridge is no longer standing, the chance is no longer there. By 30 days, she isn't asking whether you'll return. She's confronting the reality that you won't. And that knowledge leaves her with only one thought. She lost more than a man. She lost the kind of presence that changes a life, the kind that doesn't come around twice. So as the silence stretches beyond the months, she doesn't just feel your absence, she feels the weight of her own choices. And deep down, she knows this isn't a loss you'll carry, it's a loss she'll live with, day after day, because she let go of the man she'll never find again.